Well, it's a good evening from the studios in Brisbane here. So been some fun and frivolity this afternoon with a tree snake and a blue-tongued lizard coming into the radio station studios. Without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Andrina, and our guest today is also from Australia.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Good morning, everybody. Good evening, good day, wherever you are in the world. And today it's the 5th of December, 2024. And today I'm very privileged to have Andrew Ge Holt in the show. So welcome, Andrew, and thank you for being our guest this week.
Oh, thank you so much, Andrina. It's so wonderful to be here and to be invited by you to be on this channel with Jeffrey as well.
Right. So I know you've got lots to share and I got lots of questions. So let's just say that you're an author. I know, how many books have you written now?
There's 7, I think there's. Yes, 7.
Right. Okay. 7 books. So you're an author of many books, international traveler. You've been an educator for over 30 years, and you're doing a wonderful job of creating space for children and also giving them tools to help them bring about their dreams and visions. So, so you've set up, you've created Wise Kids Quest and also the Shooting Star movement. So let's start at the very beginning. I've had the privilege to share the Egypt trip with you, which was one hell of a trip, as most of you know.
Oh, it was amazing, wasn't it? Oh my gosh, what a ride that was.
God, there was no stop button, was there? Anyway, so start at the very beginning, because I know you're Australian. Tell us, you know, along the way, how you've come to be doing all of this beautiful work for the children.
Yeah, I guess I'll start right back at the beginning. We grew up in the country, northwest of Canberra, a place called Young, and my grandparents had a farm, and I was on there on weekend, a sheep farm with 2,000 sheep, about 40 head of cattle. And I used to spend a lot of my weekends out there with creative play, and you know, as I got a bit older, I would support the work on the farm that needed to be done. So that, and playing with my cousins. So it was a beautiful childhood, and then I really was curious to investigate the world, and I went to a country university, and part of that program, my 3rd year, I went to Indonesia to experience teaching English as a foreign language. And then I had the curious and love of learning from different cultures that first was awoken to me, my first culture of Indonesians. And then, you know, fast forward a little bit later, I became a teacher as an ESL Indonesian teacher in Canberra, the capital of Australia. And then from after that, after 3 years, I then decided to do go overseas and worked in the UK, in Leeds and in London particularly, and a little bit in Scotland, where I worked with children from many different backgrounds as well. From there, I went back to Australia and ended up in the Kimberley, working on a remote community in the top of northern Western Australia, the most northern place. And I was there for 3 years. And those kids really taught me to keep it real, because they had a little bit more agency, and they'd like, hey, this guy's boring. I'm not going to come to his class. And then, so that's a great map to have. The top of, you can see, for those people who have the visuals, up the top is Kununurra of Western Australia. I'm not sure if you can zoom into the Kimberley area. And just north of Kununurra is a little place called Wyndham of 800 people. Amazing place, a great culture, and I learned a lot during my time there. Yes, there it is. I was 4-wheel driving, camping, and you know, keep it real. So they taught me to keep it real, and I made it as real as possible for kids to have this love of learning. Yes, the big crocodile, that's the big crocodile in the main street. There is definitely crocodiles. You would not go anywhere near the water. Though we do go fishing, but that's the lookout from the 5 Rivers lookout that run into the Gulf there from above Wyndham. I got a $10,000, that's the port. I got a $10,000 grant to do an initiative. That's the famous boab trees in the Kimberley region. And we built a vegetable garden where we made things real and did a lot of our work around that, which now has turned into a bush taka garden, as far as I believe.
Fabulous.
One of the things, yeah, I really believe that children can give back as well. So I had a grade 6, 7 class there in the primary school, and we built a memorial place because I was a Catholic school at the time, and well, it still is a Catholic school, but I was working there, and the kids built a memorial for many people who have passed away, which can be quite frequent in those communities. Um, yeah, so that was and we had a grandfather come and build all that with the kids, and that was really good. And I just had a beautiful, I'm jumping all around, but I tried to make it as real as possible for the kids. And a good testimonial to that is just recently, a couple of ex-students who are now 34, this is 20 years ago, they've contacted me and said, thank you, you're the best teacher we've ever had. So it's like, oh, wow, what made me the good teacher? And I think it was what they taught me, keep it real. So from there, I went to Darwin, and I had gifted and talented kids, and I got them to run a small business, as part of which I continued to do from the vegetable garden back in Wyndham. I got them. We grew so many things. We started to sell it back to the shop, the only shop in town. So it was an amazing time. And then through my time up there in Darwin, I'm doing a similar sort of thing with working with kids where they ran small businesses, and just see how that empowered them and how they became resilient to the ride. And that inspired me to what I do now, is run Wise Kids Quest with children, which where children come, they make a staff of a symbol of their leadership, and they go, they have a vision, and they go and investigate what their strengths are. If you're going to go on a quest to rule over your kingdom or queendom with your staff in one hand, your vision in the other, what are your strengths? And you can dive deep into your strengths and how you're going to use them. And so I have a fun introductory day, which children experience that, and a few games, and then we invite them to go on an 8-week quest where they manifest that dream and then present it. And they may not have finished that. They put steps in place, and we touch base each week. Then they just present where they are on their journey, because some goals take more than 8 weeks, and there's a lot of learning in that. So it's the learning of that process, and I insert what I've learned over the time, mindfulness tools, and I'm studying positive psychology and wellbeing at the moment, which sort of relates a lot to what I do. So I integrate those tools for what I've learned for that journey, so they become wise, and I question their journey and give them space to grow. So that's one aspect of what I do. It is merging into an online course, so I can access more people from around the world, and some training, so people can have the module and how to run it themselves in their local areas.
Fabulous. What was the very first book that you wrote?
The very first book that I wrote, after I was in Darwin, I had a break, and I went of teaching, and I studied kinesiology and became a kinesiologist for a little while around Brisbane. And then during that time, I realized how stressed all the schools were. I relief taught in over 200 schools, and I was getting into mindfulness and yoga, and as part of my journey. And then I went to India, and it was a combination of studying that, understanding, and also learning Reiki at the time, the energy. I wanted to really understand and share that psychology of the chakra system mixed with modern psychology and well-being on how to have wise kids. How do we want our kids to be wise? Well, we ask some self-inquiry questions. And so the first book was A Wise Apple Tree Helps Me, Top Tips for Wise Kids.
Which is going to be one of the prizes today.
Yeah, it's one of the prizes today. So this has been an amazing book. And I was, part of the journey on this book too was having the self-belief that what I had to share was good enough. And then the second book was, which Andreen has just shown in the Wise Kids series, is A Wise Water World Inspires Me. And that's more to do with the emotions. The first book is around the foundation, having a strong foundation on your mindset, and other different things to help you stay grounded and present. And the second one's more about the flow and being in understanding emotions and being empowered to reflect on your journey through those.
Mm.
So just one little thing on here, I had to empower myself too on here is the fact that I had to change my mindset because I couldn't afford an illustrator. So these are actually my drawings at age 37, or was I 38, where I had to practice to draw and for the first time in my life and to go through that. And when I sort of integrate that into the book as well, on one of the pages I talk about poisonous thinking. I'm dumb, I'm stupid. I can't do this. And that sort of killed off. That's why I said poison, because it actually killed, where am I here? That actually killed off my ability to draw for all those years. And so then I had to refertilize myself and say, come on, Andrew, what's your strategy? With practice, you can do that. You can get better and better. And I learned on YouTube for a year. I practiced on there and went to a workshop with children, sitting in amongst children to learn. I thought, I really need to get this book out. I did a road trip after I released it. I did release it actually in Canada for the first of all at my yoga teacher training to 70 people who were studying from all over the world. So there was a wonderful release, and I dedicated to all the wisdom of wise teachers from all around the world, past, present, and future. And then I did a road trip in New South Wales and got so many good feedback from counsellors, psychologists, teachers, parents, grandparents. And so I just thought, wow, it was a confirmation that I was on the right track. And that's why I went into the second book.
So tell me, you say you were sat in the class with the children. I mean, that would have been an education in itself, wouldn't it? You know, because I know, like many years ago now, when my kids were at little school, and I volunteered as a reading mum, and kids have got so many stories to tell you, especially about their mum and dads. You know, I used to find it was just hilarious sit reading with the children, because like they're just so open, and so I bet that must have been quite an education, but quite a fun way of learning to be with such young children.
Yeah, the 10 and 11-year-old, like, they were quite puzzled that I was here, and I said, oh, well, I'm just being honest. Like, I'm wanting to become, I'm wanting to illustrate my book, and you can too. And so it doesn't matter what age you can, and I have this passion to do it, and I'm going to sit with you guys and learn as well. So, they're open to accepting if you're open and honest and say where you're at. They might think it's a bit weird, but, you know, usually when you're honest and straight front, they go, oh, okay. And they accept it and they're open for your reason.
Yeah. So I know, like, you've, is like with some of the children, I mean, some children come in and they know where they're going, what they want. They're like fully in tune or fully aware, if you like. And then some children don't. You know, have you got any stories to share about some of the children that have come in with amazing things they want to do, and others that haven't, and that you've opened them up and helped them, you know, with their visions and their dreams?
So it's very interesting on, you know, when you work in a system which often doesn't allow that to happen, there is times when I do create space for them to do that. Like when I did create those, you know, the chances for kids to work together, to run their own little business, that seemed the passion. And then more outs. And then at times I would take in gems, like when I was relief teaching, I would take in gemstones to play with children. Like I just say, when we do this work, if I was a relief teacher, I'll get you to play with the gemstones or the crystals. And I do remember very clearly one day that I brought in, I had a selenite lamp, which I'd taken the lamp out, obviously, and I had some small stones. And one of the girls picked up one and said, you know, when you hold it like this, it's actually telling me what it wants to do. And I said, oh, really? And then across the room, another boy called out, well, it wants to go here, doesn't it? It's telling me it wants to go here. I don't need to hold it. And the girl said, yes. And so I said, well, okay, you guys, you can be part of the first group that plays with the crystals. And they made this magnificent sort of, I mean, in the center was the structure. And then they made these spiraling with all the other crystals with different clusters that I had for them to play with. And once that had finished, they was like, shh, everyone shush. The crystals are trying to charge and clear the energy and make the energy good. I'm trying to remember what they said now. And it's not working very well when you're so noisy. And I said, well, I know I don't work very well when it's noisy either. So let's you know, follow the process these guys are doing. And so that was an intuitive process. So I like to create space, and then often, like, I don't even know where it's going until the children direct it, and then I can. Like another time, we were sitting around a tree in a garden, and I said, let's just. We're just coming back from getting Father's Day presents, I think, for the children who have the choice to buy some. And we're just sitting around under the tree in the schoolyard. And I just said, I'll just feel the breeze on your skin and everything like that. And afterwards, the kids sort of shared that. I said, oh, what did you feel like? One boy said, oh, look, I feel like I was a dolphin and talking with the dolphins. I said, what did that sound like? So it's just asking questions. What did that sound like? And someone else said, oh, I was a whale. I was like, okay, how does it go? Like thinking of Nemo, does it go, hello? Like that. And so I just play along. And then all the rest of the kids sort of jumped in, and we were all singing sort of all these, making these animal noises from whatever the creature that they felt, or they joined in. And it wasn't until I went home, and that night there was a full moon, and it was in Pisces, I think it was. And I just thought, oh, wow, interesting. I just find out these interesting things. Who knows whether these children are like, this is my other side of me, just thinking, who knows, did they tap into something just with the energies of the time, and they were just playing through that, or were they doing some sort of activation unknowingly or intuitively? Who knows? So I'm just open to creating space. And that's when I do that. I was also on an Indigenous community with crystals, and kids did similar sort of things with those, the opportunity to play. I call it play. It's playing, and then you hear their imagination, their stories around it. And some of their stories relate to what I've read about Atlantis or Lemuria,
Yeah, because like schools, I mean, I don't know if any of them are slightly more open or changing, but you weren't taught to be quiet, you weren't taught to be still, you weren't taught to go within, and I don't know how they explore children's creative side, especially if they're more open. And some of the children are way ahead of their years. I mean, one of my granddaughters is, my God, she's going to be a warrior. She's only 8, but she didn't have any nonsense, and she tells you as it is. And like, so for me, like, some of them that are coming in now are more open, more aware, and or awake, whatever the word is that there's different ways of I'd like to say more aware, I think, than awake. But are you finding that now that there are more and more that are tuned in, or have got an extra sense, can see more, feel more, as opposed to how it used to be going back?
I think yes and no. I think if you have to create in the environment is right, and they trust you, I think my perception is that children have always been there and had that, and you just, as I grow in awareness and what I can provide for children, they've come to the workshops, and they've been able to feel like they can express in a safe way, or I provide something that they can remember and use and play. Around the crystal, I don't know what their children are going to do around the crystals in the future. Or then you get other children that have a vision of wanting to have their room painted blue, for an instant, or want to become an electrician. So it doesn't necessarily mean the woo-woo side. It can be just their journey, and it's on that journey. What I instill is the reflection. So asking yourself on that journey as well. I'm here to share with you a wide variety of, like, gemstones, different musical instruments, different awarenesses shared from other children in like a space, and then we reflect on our own journey. What do you feel about it? How do you feel you could use it? And I create that space. These ones are these foundational questions, like, who do you ask for help when you need help? This is the foundation from the book one. What's my style when I'm dealing with a bully? Where is my focus in those journeys? Those common grounding things that I need to continue to keep on my journey, keep going back. So no matter whether it's more of like we're all in 3D bodies here, but whether we're on the 3D experience or we have a greater awareness of other dimensions or things like that as a child. So I haven't really come across children that have, I know of people that access, extraterrestrial information, or from different galaxies. I haven't yet to. I know they're out there. I've spoken to people and I know people who have worked with those children, but I haven't personally at this stage.
I know when we had Mary Rodwell on the show, probably a couple of years ago now, and she was saying that she had so many parents contact her about her children were being, talking about where they come from, where they lived, and she got everybody, or she got the children to draw pictures of what they look like and what their home looked like. And she said that the amount that all came back exactly from the same planet, all the drawings from all around the world, but they were the same shape, and the beings were, looked the same, however that was. So just amazing when you get everybody to sort of do something like that, and you see that they're all, like we all come from different planets and what have you. But so yeah, I see we got some of our lovely Egyptian tribe on the on the show, so which is lovely.
Yes, hi Pauline. I see you there, Pauline. Thank you. Thank you for joining all those other people who are jumping in. And feel free. I'm not sure. They can ask questions and we can see them. And
So
please feel free to ask questions.
What do you think has been the greatest in all of your teaching, helping the children now? What do you think has been the greatest way forward for them? Because I know there's a lot of children come from different homes and broken homes and, all sorts of different things. So what would you like say a parent has got children and they can't get them to focus and concentrate. What tips from all of your learnings and traveling, and what tips would you share to help people with children now?
I think many people probably know these tips, but if they really find something that they love, you find something that they love and you feed that passion. I think, particularly my experience is with primary schools. Sometimes they find, like, whether it's playing a guitar or something, they'll do that for a little while. And I think in a primary school, sometimes some children need to experience lots of different things before they find out what they really love. Others really know it straight away, whether it's, gymnastics or dancing or tennis playing. Like I've got a beautiful niece and nephew. They've really found their passion. And from there, there is the journey. And so there'll be their journey of learning about that process, and having support around that by understanding when you fail at something is not really a failure. It's a learning lesson. What do I need to learn? But just supporting them on that journey of what they wanted, what their love is, I think, and also just before them becoming wise on that journey, is to reflect. And that's what my books in the Wise Kids series, to have wise kids, just as we as adults, we reflect on our experience. So that's one of those, the strong message that I feel like overrides everything, is to follow what they love, and you mentor them into that. Like I remember one boy on one of the quests that I did wanted to be an archer. He was 9, I think, and he wanted to do archery, and he thought he could just learn off YouTube. And one of his steps on that 8-week journey was he had to call up the local archery club and inquire about what he could learn. And he procrastinated for a week, and we realized that he was too scared to call on the phone, and he wanted his mum to do it. And we were like, well, no, this is your quest, and this is a chance for you to step into bravery, because it's great when you have a fear, then you can then step into bravery. And this is where practicing our strengths empowers the children. And so, yes, we might scaffold it. Let's prepare some questions and practice with mum first. And then, but it's your quest, so you call and then do that. And so that was a great learning lesson to mum as well. Mum and dad reflected afterwards, and they said, you know what, we really learnt on the quest to just step back a little bit and allow our children to make the mistake, and then the learning is stronger for them. Or to allow them to build the courage to do that and become resilient in that process. So he was able to go on that journey of calling up and being brave, and to speak to the people and organise what was the next thing for him. So that's just an example of how you can just support your children by following their interests, but not just give it to them. Let them, they're the ones that are doing it. So to get them to step into the responsibility of owning that journey with support and a lot of love and, care.
Mm. Lovely. Have you had any, do the children want to write their own books, do you find, when they're young? Is that...
Yeah, so a lot of the schools that I've gone to and done different presentations at, I get many come up afterwards and say, I'd love to be an author, I'd love to illustrate books, and then they go straight away. And if I go back to that school or I talk to different teachers, the feedback I've got given, because sometimes I'm a relief teacher and I go back to those schools, the kids run up to me with their version of the books, of their creative writing, and want a little bit of a few tips and things. So that's quite inspiring to know that, when they see something happening. And also when I do talk to them about my mindset and about my journey of having to illustrate and how, I wasn't at a primary school level, I wasn't the best at English, but I had such a strong message that I really wanted to support people, that I felt that this is it and I will find a way.
Yeah. Well, you're certainly doing that, eh?
And then that encourages children to find a way as well. If they can see someone else do it, they can find a way too. And that's where we become models. And that's the other tip I would probably mention is many parents say, how can I support children and to help them be their best? Well, you be the best version of you too. And so when you're modeling something, you find your passion, or you just show and model to the children how you go against finding and sharing that as well. And even just being honest that I found this really hard for me, but this is what I did to get over it, or this is what I might need to do in the future. I'm still learning too. So that's what's really humbled me in teaching, is said, look, I'm your teacher. Well, in a classroom situation, anyhow, in the system, I get children when I'm full-time teaching now to write me a report at the end of the school year, because it's like, well, I'm writing you a report wanting you to be the best version of you, and I'm your, I want to be the best version of me, so I need some feedback to help me. It really helped me in my younger years, and I started that when I was doing in the Wyndham, where I was in Western Australia with the children there, Indigenous kids. And for younger kids, it can be oral, it can be colouring in little face emojis, and the older kids can lend more into the writing. Yeah.
So I know you said you're going to be doing an online course. Is this for children or children and adults, or anybody, any age?
Well, that's the transition of the Wise Kids Quest. It's going into an online course so I can access more people. I have had questions. I've had many adults come, many parents say, oh, I'd love to do this quest as well, because it's really a similar sort of thing, except we're just practicing the tools when we're younger. And often that's why I'm doing it, because I never had those tools in a way that I could follow my passion or discover my passion and try and do that. I'd sort of stumbled into working with children, and it was like, I love working and I love learning, and I love my own journey of learning, expanded into all these different alternate things in life. And I just like to provide that opportunity for children as well. And so the course, I think it will evolve. I'm studying at the moment positive psychology and wellbeing. So the course will probably, I'm looking to evolve that next year in 2025 to be released around, let me put a date, September next year in 2025.
Right. What was it? So that's books 1 and 2. Have you got your other books you'd like to share a bit about as well?
Yeah. So before I really go on to that, the third book in this I will be completing next year and be released around the middle of the next year, or around sometime next year at this. Yes. So there'll be the 10-year anniversary since the first one was done, and it's a wise.
Wow.
It's a wise son empowers me. It's about being empowered on your journey. How to stay in my power or not lose my power, and on your journey. So that's what's coming up next year as well. So busy doing the diploma, finishing off this, and merging this, the Wise Kids Quest to an online course as well. But yes, going over to this, Other couple of books that I have. This first one that I've just shared, the Wise Kid series, is about being reflecting on your experience. The next one, which is really important to children these days, is from the Shooting Star. It's how I run my classrooms or working with children. It's about being seen and acknowledged for the gifts that you're sharing, or we catch you doing that. So, for example, what qualities do we want our children to have? We want them to be kind, helpful, resilient, persistent, show good teamwork and leadership. So, and be organized are just a few qualities. And so what I do, I just bring this very simple kind act, which I've incorporated into the book. I said, oh my gosh, I love how you just helped your friend when they fell over, or you helped them with their homework. Or I love how you were so kind and went and just had a conversation with your friend when they were upset. So, and then I will give them a shooting star. So Andrina, sorry, tongue-tied.
Don't worry.
I'm going to say I would give you a shooting star, Andrina, for your persistence and resilience on the, on the Egypt trip when I knew you were ill, and I was with you on that balloon ride, and that was amazing that you had that resilience. I know you weren't 100% by far, but you got there, and I'm so proud of you. So I would give you a shooting star for being resilient and persistent.
Thank you very much.
And how you would perceive that, you would grab that in your hand and you would put it in your heart, and that's what I explained to the children. That's where our good memories remain. When I first did it, some of the children said, I don't want to put it in my heart. I said, well, what do you want to do with it then? And they go, well, I want to eat mine.
Oh.
And so
and that'd be kids.
And so they eat them, and it's like, well, so long as it goes inside. Though I did have one cheeky 5-year-old tell me he didn't want to do any of those, and I'm like, okay, he's got that. You know how some of them have that cheeky little look, and they're going to tell you something, and there's like, well, I'm going to put mine up my bum, and I was like, oh, okay. He was wanting the don't be so silly sort of response, and I said, mate, look, if that's where you want to put it up, put it. Well, you go straight ahead. It's not where I'm going to put my shooting star. So we just had a bit of a giggle and a laugh about that. Yeah. But you never know what children are going to say. That was a 5-year-old.
No, that's right. Yeah. What would they do with next?
So, but coming back to the shooting star method, or what I do, this is not where the power lies. The power, I'm modeling what I want to see. So when I see someone being organized or resilient, I had a boy throw a 6-year-old, I think, might have thrown the chair and then ran out of the classroom. Something upset him. I can't remember exactly what it was now, but then he was able to come back in the classroom and said, hey, Mr. Holt, they called me Mr. Andrew at that place, Mr. Andrew, I'm bouncing back, hey. And I said, yes, you are. You may come back in the classroom, but mate remember those few tools that we practiced? Maybe you should try that next time. Remember, in our corner, we can do the tracing around for the breathing, or we can rip up a bit of paper. So, but I'm really glad. So instead of saying, oh, you shouldn't have done this and blah, 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 which I have been guilty of in the past, that's creating guilt within the child as well, and shame. So this, at least the shooting star gave them the tool to come back and say, look, I am bouncing back. And I acknowledge that with him. Yes, you are. Here's a shooting star for bouncing back, which is resilience. Go and get one and put in your little collectibles. So they do have little collectible shooting stars. So that I'm just, yes, so the power happens, I was going to say, is when I say I get the children involved. I'm modeling, so they're getting a memory of what they're actually seeing, different examples, and then they can call it out more. So they put their hand up and say, I want to give a shooting star to Jack because he passed the ball in soccer, and that's good teamwork, isn't it? Or, and I did actually, I send them home to little packs home to the parents, and I get them to come back as reporters as part of their sort of school homework. And I remember a couple of parents have been in tears because their 8 or 9-year-olds have acknowledged them for different strengths. So it is really powerful. We all love to be seen and acknowledged, no matter what age. And this book is, this a simple technique for sharing, helping parenting as well as classroom teachers to share the whole, it's shifting energy, basically, just shifting it from more of a negative mindset to creating positive environments. And it's changed my whole teaching around. The kids love it. They get involved, particularly their younger ones, the 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds. The older ones, you can play with them as well with it because they love being acknowledged. And what's really special about this book is that I've dedicated it to grandmothers, because the grandmother comes and helps the girl in the book, and shares a journey with her granddaughter. And also I have 18 children in here from all over the world. I've got a girl from the UK. Yes, a girl from the UK. She did the last picture on the end. Jess Flower, she was 13 years old when this was, I think, released. I think she must be a teenager. She's actually got an Instagram account with all her artwork in here. Some of the girls do. So 18 children from Germany, from the Solomon Islands to Indonesia. And so it was a massive 2.5-year project, and it was released in 2021. So it was it's got the potential to, to support communities. I'd love to grab another school out there. If you know of a school or a community, a homeschool community, whether you want to jump in, I'm happy to get, there's actually 25 illustrations. Happy to have a community where we can insert that in, and then we can publish it, and you can have your own shooting star movement happening with your own community.
That's lovely. It's a great idea.
I've one thing I just needed to mention at the end, after the girl has been giving shooting stars to everyone, her mother sits her on the bed, which you may have seen at the end, and she gives her daughter a journal, because she's recognised everyone except herself. So my shooting star journal, you get children to write down 3-star qualities, probably the older ones, and you can do it with a parent. 3-star qualities you've shown today, and 3-star qualities you've seen in someone else, and you just have space to draw a fun memory for the day. If you get stuck, there's a whole list of characteristics at the beginning. And what's really surprised me, I've had adults who've suffered from depression said, I didn't even know what my strengths are. Do you think this book could help me? And I thought, you know what? Give it a go and let me know how it goes. And so we don't naturally get taught our strengths in our generation. So what are my strengths? And so that can be skill-based, or it can also be personality-based. And we investigate that on the Wise Kids Quest as well. And that sometimes the whole families come involved as well and learn more about their strengths.
And it's like you say, it's an education for the children, but it's also an education for the adults as well, because like what we were taught at schools, it's nothing like, well, I don't know, I haven't been back to school, but you know what I mean, is things are changing, and I don't know how much schools have changed in their way of doing things, but getting them to be more open and sort of in touch, like with meditation, we're doing breath work, we're doing like drumming and things like that, bringing out their natural rhythms, and getting them to, because I know a lot in the past, schools will shut you down, you're no good at that, you can't do that, and that's it. People's got a block and they don't sort of move on and break through it. And it's like now we're all learning different ways of re-educating ourselves, how we can help each other. And it doesn't have to be like encyclopedias. It just needs to be simple ways that we can all help each other.
Yeah, and I think that's the key, is the simple ways. Like, simple things like a shooting star is like a very simple, free sort of thing that you can give, acknowledging, but it's actually changing your mindset as an adult. And it's also modeling that to the children to follow, which is part of the reticular activating system of what I focus on. I'll begin to see more. That's a part of the brain. And it's that part of the brain when you see a brand new car, or you buy a brand new car and you go, oh my gosh, there's other ones the same as mine. Or if you're a pregnant woman, you all of a sudden see more pregnant women. That's the reticular activate system work. And that's a big emphasis of what is behind my book, is what you focus on, you'll begin to see more of. And you're like, do you know how many shooting stars I see now? Like last year, I went to the Solomon Islands and I was going into a remote community, and the first child I saw, there was a shooting star on her shirt. Like, what? I was remote teaching in 2021 in the Northern Territory, and there's a truck that comes into water to stop all the dust from the roads. And on the semi trailer on the cab is shooting stars. Like, what are the chances? I've never ever seen that. So I'm sorry, I forgot what your question was again. About the schools.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what the question was now. Anyway, I was just because I was thinking you wore a shooting star T-shirt in Egypt, didn't you?
Yes, I did at one stage.
Yeah.
So I feel like it would be low. This is where I would feel like the education systems needs to shift to create space where children can be navigated on their own journey. Because it's not about the information, because they can get information. It's about what do you love, how do you research it, and then share it. Be brave enough to share it to the rest of the world, whether it's in whatever form that may be. Whether it ends up being a music album, whether it ends up being a book, whether it ends up being a dance.
Hang on a minute, Jeff, can you mute yourself? The frogs are a bit loud.
Yeah, I was just going to butt in there. Hey, listening to you, what was really empowering to bring in a focus was Gary Chapman with his 5 love languages, and as a means of communicating with adults. And then he came up with the 5 love languages for adolescents. And your book seems to take it as an education point of view of actually working on brain gym or educational kinesiology, which was brought into New South Wales schools, but then one of the premiers who just moved in some 10 years ago stopped it from coming through the juniors, where they bring in right brain, left brain, and doing integration with simple techniques in order to take it to that level where you get out of that left brain, move into the right brain, and then when you get to around 14, 15, then, or even at 16, then start bringing in the left brain, which was Rudolf Steiner's concept of allowing youth to actually experience education, I suppose is the best way, rather than be put in a classroom and then told you got to do maths, English, geography, history, social studies. It was more of a framework for experiential. So the fact that you've been in all these little communities and you've actually, listening to you've actually taken on board, well, I want you to critique me. I thought that was the best word of advice that I've heard from someone like yourself as a teacher, asking the kids to critique you. I think that takes you to another level as a teacher and a facilitator and a human being. Andrew, it's fantastic what I've been listening to.
Yeah, and I guess I see it's we're both on a journey. Like, just because I'm in an older body doesn't mean I just had a few more runs on the board, but it doesn't necessarily mean I know more than what you bring into the classroom. And whether that comes from, whether they're 5 or 10 or 12, whether that comes from their learned experience, from their modeling from their parents, or whether it even comes from a past life, it doesn't really worry me. I'm just here to create space for them to find those gifts and to share. That's what I feel like my mission is, I guess, and to support those people around them, whether they're parents or educators, in that process. And it can be challenging in that system to do that, and it's quite frustrating for me to often see that and have those constraints. And I would love to be able to. There are pockets of, there's homeschooling families doing it. There's the Steiner education, and which I haven't really studied, but I am aware of, and Montessori, and they've got both benefits as well in more the experiential experience. And I think that's what my journey has been, through my experience and through allowing children through an experience to become wise to their journey, as wise as we can reflect on them and learn on that.
Well,
and
Anastasia,
also, sorry?
The Anastasia, the Ringing Cedars, and her education of those 10 books relates to the fact of those young kids at 9, 10, 11, 12, they would come in and it was completely alternative in its whole approach to life. And those young kids would actually sit down and become complement each other, and they would dig down and go right through to the end of the subject. And there's one of the chapters there in the book 7, I think it is, there's this so-called doctorate who's now 29 years old, and he comes there and there's an 11-year-old explaining to him his degree in such a manner that he's now the professors now finally understood what his degree is all about. He got taught by a 9-year-old what his degree is all about in really simple, common sense education. There's little pockets of it, and I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, Australia's just got a really gem by having you, and I really appreciate you coming on the show today. Fantastic.
Yeah, I guess my question is, how do I expand that space so I can support the youth to what I'm doing? More than, I'm doing what I can in stepping in. I'm a district relief teacher at the moment, so I'm not full-time teaching in one particular classroom. I'm taking small contracts, and I'm in an area where I can just go in for a day, and then I share the shooting stars, and I do that to a degree. It's just me taking it to the next level is where I need to go to share out to the world and create this space. One of the other one of the other wisdoms that I've learned is after living on remote communities and living in bush, you get really close to nature, and nature talks. The elders, I always had a bird that came quite frequently when I go for my morning walks. I said, "Oh, I see this bird," and one of the elders said, "Just sit with it and just see what the message is for you, because they're there for a reason." And so I've always felt that as well, and more so as I get older and spend time in nature. And that's what led to me releasing last year in 2023. Yes, was this book called The Nature Talks. So that's just a selection of. It's another reflection, can be for students of it and also for adults. It's a selection of photos that I've taken when I've been teaching remote and also in Queensland of different pictures, and then you get a chance to reflect on what you feel like. For example, this one's fire. Do I need to ignite something, burn something off, or do I have a memory with fire that I write? And my subconscious, once I'm writing, as we know in journaling, can reveal different things or awarenesses around that. So that's another way to access your wisdom, whether you're a child or whether you're an adult as well. But that was the latest one.
Oh, that's lovely, especially with all the colour pictures, eh? And credit to you for taking the pictures.
Yeah, thank you. It's part of my process of being really present. I go and I look at something and I feel like nature speaks to me. And and it does. It really does. The energy of each plant, it's like medicine, I feel. And, there's a whole lot of body around that as well, that information.
So what are your next...
Sorry. Well, I was going to say, when you have country people and they come into the city and they will just say, "It's too big for me. I'm out of here. I just can't handle it." Off they go. And when a city person goes out to the country, all of a sudden their energy field expands and they just feel so grateful for the silence. I think that's the best way to say it when you go out the country and out bush. It's a silence that allows you then to embed, the earth that you're walking on and the actual air that you're breathing and then the wildlife. There's something to be said by being in the bush, because our mate Trevor would actually say that the Aborigines knew when someone come on their land, and that land might be 200 or 300 kilometres away, but they knew because their auric field was such that they could expand it right out, so they actually knew what was going on their property. And of course, when you come into the city, you don't actually expand your energy, because you might be in a cluster housing, you might be in units. So in the city environment, you actually condense your energy field. You don't really spread your light. So there's something to be said for your getting out there as a relief teacher or a locum, traveling around the whole country and just seeding all those different areas. I think what you're doing is in the right place at the right time, brother.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Well, I'm still here for a reason. There's got to be, a reason why I'm still doing this at the moment. Yeah. And I do enjoy the variety and going in and just tapping in where I can. And, it's like you're going in and someone's on trail. You might speak to a young teacher or someone else, and they may, take up what you're doing or listen to something. Yeah. So
the thing is, you've got the opportunity to travel around, whereas a lot of teachers, they're in that school for years, aren't they? They don't go anywhere. Where, like you say, you're planting stars all over the place.
Well, I guess too, so I don't have children, and so that's sort of been help in that aspect. I think all children, I feel like I put that extra energy in because I don't actually have my own. So yeah.
Right. Anne says the Anastasia books by the Ring and Cedars Press, so full of info that makes so much sense. I love these books. Did we talk about that in Egypt? I remember talking to somebody about the Ring and Cedars. Was it yourself? I can't remember. Have you read them? Hello, Bonnie.
We may have had a conversation, but I have not read them. It's one of the series of books that I would love to read. So that's this conversation's reminding me to access those because I feel that would be amazing.
Yeah, because I know when we read the first one, we just couldn't put it down. We had to. We went through this set in a short space of time.
Yeah. I'm open to obviously, I've heard so many great things around that and love to incorporate that into wisdom that I can share in the Wise Kids movement.
Hey, up at Kingerley, you got a professor, Dr. Sandra. I can't pronounce her name.
Well, the fungi.
Yeah,
she does. I'm not.
She's Polish, isn't she? Yeah. Funny because
she does the mycelium network. Talks to the mycelium network and the fungi and how the trees talk to each other. Look her up. I can't pronounce her last name.
Yeah, I'll find you the link. But
Sorry.
I thought of her yesterday because I went out and I took some pictures of fungi, and I was thinking about her. So funny you should say today.
Yeah.
Let me look her up. Now I better.
Yeah, I will look her up. Yeah.
Right. So with you, because you've got like two movements, haven't you? You've got the shooting stars and your wise kids quest. So is this like an online that people can join, or how does it work?
Well, I guess the whole thing that it's evolving to is all my books and all my courses. The overarching thing is called the Wise Kids Movement, because one we've got 4 parts, I guess. One is reflecting on your experience through the Wise Kids series. 2 is being seen and acknowledged and heard in encouraging that for children to do that. And 3 is going on the quest to practice those skills, to embed those into a chosen quest. And 4 is also getting support by nature on the way. So, and having the wisdom of all those on the journey. So the shooting star movement is within that, the Wise Kids. It's a movement of just a simple technique of sharing a shooting star and receiving it and training the children to do that and training us to model that.
So where do you think you're going to go from here? Because I mean, obviously you're doing amazing work. You're helping the kids, and like you say, you're even helping adults as well. So, you know, what you're doing is touching many, many lives. So, and I know you'd like to expand further, but is there anything that you'd like to particularly really tune into now with all what you've learned and experienced?
I feel the next thing for me is just to ground in the 3rd book and have that series complete and finish my diploma of positive psychology and wellbeing. It's sort of understanding the Western understanding of how to set up positive environments, which I feel like I'm doing already, but I'm just getting the wider perspective of research. So that's what's in my space at the moment, and leading into how I can share that further after that's completed. Well, I think will evolve as it goes. And if anyone out there has got any suggestions, or I'm very open to that. Social media is, I'm just the one person at the moment doing that, as well as many other things. So I'm doing as much as I can with the time at the moment that I'm doing. But I would love to expand it to reach more children and to have different coaches, I guess, around the Wise Kids movement into following a methodology of or just a simple workshop or something online where I can just talk to parents or educators to sort of how they can support it and give a bit of a guideline. So it's evolving over to that as well.
Right, so we ought to say that we've got the 2 books as prizes today. So we've never done this before, so this is a new experience for us. So right, what video callers need to have camera and microphone and be online to access Google Chrome or Firefox, and we will give you the URL link when given the 2 questions. Right. Right. So I don't know if the people that are listening, if you've got that, if you right, have you got, where's the link?
I'll go to the first question.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
This is the
Right,
first
okay,
question.
everybody. Question 1.
Yeah, you
Go
go.
on. What is
Oh,
one
you go.
way to empower children to be wise? So that's the question 1.
Yeah. So in your experience, what's
Oh,
in
sorry.
your experience, how have you helped children to be wise? Yeah.
Okay.
And then question 2, who would you give a shooting star to and why? So food for thought here, folks. So if you'd like to win one of these books, next step, Jeffrey?
Click. There's
So
the
is that,
URL.
so is that coming up on, this is a bit different doing it this way. So can people see this link and click on it?
If they click that link, then they'll come in and they'll have to put in what you guys had to do today. Yeah.
Right. If they've not,
Right.
if they're not techo.
Well, they're obviously watching, so if they watched it, they're obviously online. It's just a matter if they've got a phone, they've got a microphone and a video, so they can actually come into the show. And you probably even know them.
Possibly. So if anybody wants to click on that link now and they've got a question, an answer to question 1 or question 2. So
What I'll do is I'll just put the StreamYard one and make it bigger. Yeah, by being on its own site. Okay.
all right.
All right. Okay. Let's have a look.
Well, this is food for thought. If people offer a book or a gift in the future. Okay, everybody, click on that link.
And in the meantime, I've just had a quick look onto the Facebook Live.
That link now.
Oh.
And then,
I've got a question. Someone from Sandra has said, now that you have experienced Egypt, will you create a child book with your travels? That is. Yeah, so thank you, Sandra, for asking that question. Sandra, another Egyptian sister who I travelled with. Yes, that was intended as well. I think once I'm still processing being in Egypt and going once these school holidays. Yes, definitely. Once these school holidays are coming up in Australia in a week's time for Queenslanders, then I'll be able to sit through it a little bit more. And I feel like once I sit through, I'll get. I felt while I was there was a strong indication that a book will come from that. And I feel like that is true. So yes, there will be one, and we'll see how that evolves in the next year.
We look forward to that one.
I need to write full time. I think it'd be great to be able to do that. Thanks, Andrew, for your question. If anyone else has any other questions, they could do that. And if you feel like you can answer the question where if you're listening on my Facebook Live, you can type your question in there as well if you can't work out how to access that link. But the links are on there, isn't it?
The frogs are trying to answer a question. Cool.
Yeah.
The frogs. I have to look at the medical intuitive for frogs.
Well, actually, this afternoon we had a tree snake. It was only 1.3 meters long. It came into the offices, and then shortly, within 5 minutes, in came a blue-tongued lizard. Actually, and because I moved out of the office, and decided to sit in the radio station studios, the blue-tongued lizard came right up to me. It would have been less than a foot away. And I looked down and I said, "Hey, mate, what's going on here?" I get up and he starts walking out, and then he goes out the front door. Boom, boom.
Yeah, and that's true, and that's another thing that we can access and support our children in accessing wisdom of the animals as well. In ancient cultures or traditional cultures, they still have access. They still understand the meanings of the birds and the significance of animals, and so through understanding that too, we can become wise to what they come to share out their messages, which I alluded to in the Nature Talks reference before. Yeah. Reference before.
Right, have you got anybody putting anything in, Jeffrey?
No, hang on a sec.
Thanks, Sandra.
I can see you doing like caricatures, the comic faces of us in Egypt. Right. Right. So has anybody got the answer to question 1? Go on.
What is one way to empower children to be wise, in your experience, or even as when you were a child, just reflect back onto what empowered you as a child? What was the inspiration that you found to be helping you to be wise to an experience, or wise to you growing up? Could also be another way to look at the question. And then who would you give a shooting star to? So someone in your life that you want to acknowledge and recognize that's inspired you, that maybe a grandparent, it could be your child, it could be a neighbor that has done something, whether it's kind, helpful, and resilient, or persisted at something to achieve something that they really wanted to, that inspired you, that you just want to acknowledge them. So that's a couple of questions that you can, if you would love, I'd love for you to answer and share below. That would be great. Or you can tap into the link. The link is the radio88.com?
You're muted, Jeff.
No, they just need to be, if they're watching the show, they're watching it obviously on a Google Chrome URL or browser, I beg your pardon, or they're using Firefox as a browser. If they're on their laptops or their mobile phones, they can just go into one of those 2 URLs, and they can just punch in that https streamyard.com and then the code there. Boom, boom, and they just come in and put their name.
So it'd be interesting to see if anybody does that for future reference, or would it be better for people to private message their answers and then you pick one afterwards?
Yeah, that's fine. If people want to private message their answers, and maybe within the first 24 hours of this, I will collate them all and just pull a name out of a hat, and I can contact people that way.
Yep. There you go. Having a go. That's what life's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Like we said, we've not done this before, so it's all experience, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Yeah,
so where are we going to go with this topic now? So you're over in Kingaroy. You're doing relief work. You're going to Nanango the first Saturday in the month to the markets?
Yes. Yeah, this Saturday I'm at the markets, and so they have a market once a month. It's the largest inland market where they have probably over 300 different stalls.
Wow.
At the showground at Nanango. And then next week, Wednesday, I'm looking at going on the Sunshine Coast at Yamundi markets. So I'll be at the Yamundi markets there on the Saturday. Let me just have a look at my calendar. Wednesday the 18th. And then Saturday the 21st, I'm likely to be at, so I'm just looking at my calendar. I'm likely to be at Pomona before I'm going to visit family in New South Wales.
Lovely. Okay, well, we'll I don't think there's anything else to share. It's been an absolute delight having you on the show and seeing you again, Andrew. It really has. And I love what you're doing. I love your books. You're a wonderful inspiration. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And keep on doing the amazing work that you're doing.
Thank you so much. I think a lot of my work is, and after going to Egypt too, is I feel like going to different ancient sites and bringing the ancient wisdom into a modern context and to put them into story format with the wisdom into the children. So I think that's where we'll be moving on to into the future, and also maybe including some of my energy work that I do, the intuitive energy healing, which is evolved from Reiki, and studying medical intuition from Jean Sheehan from Millennium Education on the Sunshine Coast. So she's been quite an influence in my journey of that process as well. So I look forward to sharing on that aspect as well, and also us and children to be involved in their own understanding of healing as well, making them aware that we are all healers, in whether it's energetic healing or whether it's our teachings of our experience will be the medicine that is for someone else to learn from.
Fabulous. Well, thank you for being our guest this week. It's been lovely to see you, and keep on dreaming the new dream.
Yes, definitely. And thank you so much for inviting me on. And thank you, Jeffrey. It's lovely to meet you. Whereabouts are you in Australia? It'd be great to catch up sometime for a chat with
Brisbane
you as well. Brisbane. Okay.
Springwood. Yeah, Springwood. Yeah, well, we've got the Daisy Hill State Forest. There's 10,000 hectares there. That's probably where the frogs are coming from.
Okay.
And on the other side is Springwood Conservation Park, which is 240 acres. So a lot of wildlife there. You know, I'm quite surprised in the mornings when I go for a walk. Everybody who's got a dog, you get to know the dog, the name of the dog. The dogs will come and they just want to lap up to get some of that, you know, hand treatment. You know, the old. They just love it, mate. And then, of course, the kookaburras, the crows, the murdering crows have got their patch, and then the kookaburras got their patch. The doves have got their patch. The water dragons have got their patch, and every now and then they'll release a koala in there, and then we get the swamp wallabies come through. So it's really quite interesting. And at the moment, we've got a swag of bloody white cockatoos. So yeah, it's quite a menagerie there, but I find it rather strange that a lot of young kids come in with the earbud things, and they just listen to their music, and it just don't get me in that sense, because when you walk out in nature, you can hear all that. Oh, cicadas, man! We got the cicadas just going off. You know, it's just the sounds of Australian bush. You know. And what's really great is when we get the mist that comes down, because you get that thermos, and you'll walk and you'll see every tree and every branch and every shrub has got spider webs, and they are absolutely amazing. The designs. Sometimes I've just gone in and take photos of them. I had to go home, get the camera, come back, take photos of all these different designs of the spiders. And you know, when the sun rises up and comes through the bush, they go there and they regurgitate it and take the web back into their bodies. I wasn't aware of that, and it was brought to my attention. It was pretty amazing, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, and the beauty of that, and then to take it to the next level, is to ask, what's the message for me? What are they? Whenever I see an animal, what's the message for me? You know, do I need to slow down? Do I need to laugh a little bit more? Do I, I saw there was a snail that was in my awareness. I came across the kitchen floor yesterday morning, and part of my remembering of coming into summer is often I'm getting so active that I can, not support my adrenals so much, which I've, worn out a little bit a few times over summer because I've just do. It just reminded me, just take a slower pace. You'll still go forward. That's the meaning it took for me. As you keep going forward, and just allow time in summer to rest as well.
Well, last year I was walking out the street, and there was this two cockatoos, and they're up there by the transformer. And I said to this, whatever, stop doing that. If you don't stop, you're going to bloody kill yourself. Yeah. So of course I come back and it's dead on the ground. Boom, boom. I didn't listen, eh? And then the other time I was in the office, and this bird, what do you call those? The black and white ones.
Magpie.
No, not the currow ones, not the magpies, the little one, butcher bird. So the butcher bird comes flying. I can see it actually. It's amazing. I just stopped and looked out the window. Came right over the roof of the other person on the other house on the other side of the road. Came right up to the window and started going. And I said, hang on a sec. I'll open up the front door. And you come in the office, hop on the chair, and you're going to chat. So I went out there, opened the door. I came back, sat in my office. He comes in, climbs up on top of the bloody chair, starts talking. And I go and get my phone and take a video of it and take a photo because no one's going to believe that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Mind you, we've had a kookaburra and a bloody butcherbird come into the bloody house, come into the kitchen there. There's a glass of water, a pad and paper, and these two birds came in and stood there, either side of the water and the pad. And I'm looking at them and they're looking at me. I can't believe it. These guys were saying, write down the messages, mate. Come on, hello. But and then there was another time we were over at Stradbroke Island, and these girls came out with American bloody animal cards, tarot cards, and we're playing them out, and out come this card of the goanna. Yeah. So we said, oh, yeah, we'll just lay it down. The next second, the goanna comes into your meditation. It's climbing a tree, gets right at the very top, and then it's looking out in the northwest direction. And then, boom, next second, I'm over there by the beach looking at the dolphins. And so I said to everybody there, come on, we've got to get in the car. We've got to go to this beach. We're going to meet the dolphins. I mean, yep. And we went there, and sure enough, we got there. Dolphins come right up. We could touch them. Bloody amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, nature does talk.
People wouldn't believe it, but here we are on the radio here saying it does work. You know, it does happen. Yeah, you can ask for a car park and get a car park. Well, that's only the beginning. That's kindergarten stuff, isn't it? You know.
Yeah. True. Yeah. And Andrina, must be getting. Do you have much nature over there, Andrina, at the moment, or they're all going into hibernation?
Well, I've got on the farm here, I've got 4 horses, about a dozen sheep and a dozen goats and some chickens. So, we hear the starlings. Well, we did. They come here about 5 o'clock. Well, earlier now it gets dark. But, there don't seem to be so many birds about like there used to be. But then with all the different sprays and God knows what is happening, I'm not surprised, you know. Anyway. Yeah, so the New Forest is where we go to see lots of the ponies, the wild ponies. That's always lovely, and sometimes the deer. So, but yeah, not a lot around here. But there we go.
Wonderful. Always nice to talk about animals. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it just So yeah. Anyway, any more to say, Jeffrey?
Oh, can't hear you.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I just realised. Yeah. Got to compete with the frogs. So here we go. We've got this little thing that Andrina asked us to do. So I'll just put this on. Stay online, Andrew. Hang on a sec. Someone just come through a comment. Hang on a sec.
Oh, thank you, Sandra.
Thanks, Sandra.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Same time next week.